the footage showing his neck. It appears as if he's wearing a mask. Why is this relevant? Why is this important? Because right now, Israel is trying to expand. The Israeli government wants to create one of the largest countries on earth called Greater Israel, with a population of over 100 million people, close to a 6x from their current population, which is already growing very fast. If you look at trends, in 1960, they had a population of around 2 million. Then we zoom forward to 1992, for example, I'm picking a random number, 5 million, and now at over 10 million people. So Israel is growing very quickly. If you are there, you see a lot of people are encouraged to have 3, 4, 5 children. And this is all part of their plan to try to change the way the country is able to operate on a global scale. They see Iran as a direct threat to their ability to go further into the Middle East with their land. They see Iran as a direct threat to their prosperity, their security, their economic viability in the region, their ability to send oil, for example, back and forth into the country. So this has turned into a massive war on behalf of the Israeli government for what they're trying to accomplish. But how does that tie back? Why is that relevant to if Benjamin Netanyahu is in fact not human? Is he partly AI? Is he partly some sort of other type of creature, some different type of species? All of this is very important to look at. Now we have a video. We're going to go ahead and put that up on the screen showing his neck, and you can see the crease in it. You can see as he moves right there. This is in slow motion, and it shows exactly how far his neck stretches. It's really weird stuff. Now, it could all be a coincidence. Maybe it's his age. Maybe he's just somehow having a weird looking neck, shadows, whatever. But if you start looking at footage of him, you realize, especially 10 plus years ago, almost all of those clips have it. So either he got some sort of plastic surgery or he is not human. Those are the only two options. Is that crazy? Am I insane for saying that? Well, how else did a country with only 6 million people take full control over the largest, most powerful country on earth? Why is it that we are basically subservient to them? That anytime that we want to do something, we have to go check with them first. 6 million people, 300 million people. Does that make any sense? Does that logically work that we would be subservient to them? We give them money and yet they tell us what to do. They call the shots on if they go to war or not. If we need to bomb someone, they're going to tell us that. It's because they have AI supremacy. That's the reason why. They are the first to introduce AI into the marketplace secretly. In the early 2000s, the Israeli government developed AI that was not only used to implant chips into people's brains, but it was also used to essentially take full governance over technology, globally speaking. How they got it, we don't know. Whether it was stolen, they developed it. Somehow they got their hands on AI early and were able to develop a trail, develop the ability to use that to create systems of technology. That's why almost all of the biggest technology companies in America have a lot of dual Israeli citizenship influence. Basically, they say jump how high. They say push propaganda, push wokeness, try to subvert the population. And they do it every single time. And so that's why it's so important that we start to focus on who these people are, on how they're operating, because it's not done yet. They will continue to push this extremely intense agenda forward to us. We are having to spend trillions of dollars, not even to mention the increased gas prices from them blocking the Strait of Hormuz, the increased problems with having to raise our military budget. Who owns those companies, by the way? BlackRock. BlackRock is really government ties. It's ridiculous. It is a circle of money being sent back, no value being added through these systems, going around and around. And the only people who are losing in this is the American taxpayer. They've successfully done that to such a high degree. And that's separate from the fact that I don't want any country really to have nukes. The United States, okay, fine, whatever. I barely even trust our government to handle nukes. Barely. Really, I don't. But if any country is going to have them, it definitely should not be crazy countries in the Middle East. But that, by the way, includes Israel. I don't think Iran or Israel should have nuclear weapons. So, okay, you want to bomb the nuclear facility. Okay, whatever. I don't necessarily think there's going to be a big war that starts from that, but World War III is on the horizon. It is coming. It's not going to be from this. What it's going to be from is a combination of people wanting supremacy who are in the government positions, people wanting to fund and funnel money back to themselves, and also the depopulation agenda. That's what's going to cause World War III. They're going to do it on purpose. It's not necessary. It's not going to happen because of a real cause. It's going to happen because they make it happen. It has to happen. There is no other option for them in order to achieve their agenda. The New World Order, the depopulation, what are they going to do? Poison everyone? No. It's going to be a nuclear holocaust, a nuclear war that does the dirty work for them. And so that's why it's so important that we go over all of these things. I'm about to play the intro. And when we come back, it's going to be a massive show. Joe will be joining shortly via video call. He's not in the studio today. I'm back from my incredible vacation with my family, which we have to enjoy the final days of our country before we get totally subverted and destroyed by a nuclear holocaust. So put your toes in the sand, put your bathing suit on, jump in the ocean, and just have some fun. Enjoy the final days. Anyway, a lot of big stuff, huge announcements, positive things, but also extremely negative things today on Untamed.
Take two. Cut.
Take two.
I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Right, follow me with this.
But they've been using their power to obstruct and stop justice from taking place.
You want to pray us out?
I do.
We'll pray for Tina. And let's have conversations about what truth is.
On his neck. That does not look natural. They get sloppy sometimes with this. Now, you notice Benjamin Netanyahu, even when he's not dressed up, he always has a tall collar, always, around his neck, his shirt. It's always a tall collar to prevent the side angle from being seen, but there in the front, likely because of the increased humidity where he was, you were able to see the crease in more detail than usual. We've already seen how advanced these masks are, and that doesn't necessarily mean there isn't a real person who plays Netanyahu, but it means a lot of the time you're not getting the person who plays it. It's different people who are in the mask, most likely for different purposes. They need someone to go on TV. Okay, here's one person. They need someone to go and meet with Trump. Okay, here's one person. Trump's probably in on it too, by the way. All of them are. They all know, but it's all propped up by a blackmail operation. It's all propped up by what Epstein did. That's why Epstein did what he did. That's why he did the parties, and Diddy obviously being part of that too. That's why they did it. They put the footage, got the cameras, got paid lots of money to do it. You think that Diddy really became a billionaire with a B? He became a billionaire from an alcohol company and music? That was all it took? Or do you think maybe they were able to skyrocket his net worth in exchange for him getting the blackmail tapes on people? Which one of those two do you think is more likely? Diddy, who clearly doesn't even have a high IQ at all, a dumb individual, who is talented, we'll give him that. Yes, he has talent, but he's a stupid person. He doesn't know how to run a business. He's in prison right now because they basically railroaded him in there. He didn't have any way out of it because he was doing all those things. He was participating in these parties. He was allegedly with underage girls. All of that stuff, we can see the footage. We can hear the firsthand accounts from neighbors and others. We see the allegations. We know all of it. So how does a guy like that become a billionaire? You know how hard that is? You know how hard it is to become a billionaire? Most people don't even achieve millionaire status. That's also really difficult. So to achieve millionaire status 1,000 times over within only 15, 20 years, that's insane. That is insane. And it doesn't just happen by coincidence. It's not just music. It's not just an alcohol company. We know what's really happening here. Same with Epstein. Magically, he wasn't a billionaire. Worth over 100 million, though. Worth quite a lot. Probably if you include the assets value of the blackmail tapes, maybe then he's a billionaire. The material he was able to get compromising powerful people, maybe it's worth $1 billion. That's how it all works. That's how this entire funnel is set up. And so that's why when we're supposed to go bomb other countries, or we just are supposed to look the other way when a bunch of people are being killed, women and children, look the other way. Don't worry about it. Oh, we have precision strike ability. We have bunker buster bombs. We have the ability to collect intel on everyone. It's a small place. It's super easy for us to see exactly where they're going, what they're doing. But instead, we just want to drop bombs entirely on all of them. We want to get revenge on an attack on October 7th that we let happen. It all ties together. It all becomes clear and obvious when you start to look at the fine details. When you start to pay attention to the videos and the clips. And there's, by the way, if I want to put up A1 again while I'm talking, there's also Benjamin Netanyahu glitching on multiple clips. Then you look at the YouTube video and he's no longer glitching. So it's just starting to get to the point where there's so much overwhelming evidence. You can't have this add up and that add up and this add up and that add up over and over and over and over and over again and not eventually realize what's going on here and not eventually see that this is a subversion. This is fake. Now, who's really under the mask? Who is really being controlled and acting as the puppet of Netanyahu? Oh, they say he went to school in America. Okay, sure. Yeah, we'll believe that. We'll believe that. He went to school in America. He became the prime minister of a foreign country. That makes common sense. Yeah, that's totally logical. You know how it is when you end up living in another country, then moving like Obama from Kenya to the United States and become president. That's totally common and normal. It definitely doesn't take the elites manipulating it like they did with Obama, like they did with Netanyahu. Sure, guys. Yeah, we're gonna keep. I guess we'll keep playing make believe forever. Now, here's a video that's super interesting. Now, it is a little longer. We're probably not gonna watch the whole thing at once, but I want to show you this. So this is from 2007. It is an interview with General from B1. This is an interview with Wesley Clark and General Wesley Clark, and he basically is able to predict with extreme accuracy, and also foreshadowing and the ability to see in the past and connect that to the future. It's incredible. So go ahead and play B1. This is very, very, very fascinating.
Right after 9/11, about 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq."
Can they hear it?
This was on or about the
Can you
20th
guys
of
hear it?
September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran. I said, is it classified? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, you remember that? He said, sir, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you.
I'm sorry, what did you say his name was?
I'm not going to give you his name.
So go through the countries again.
Well, starting with Iraq, then Syria and Lebanon, then Libya, then Somalia and Sudan, and then back to Iran. So when you look at Iran, you say, is it a replay? It's not exactly a replay, but here's the truth, that Iran from the beginning has seen that the presence of the United States in Iraq was a threat. A blessing, because we took out Saddam Hussein and the Baathists. They couldn't handle them. We took care of it for them. But also a threat because they knew that they were next on the hit list. And so, of course, they got engaged. They lost 1 million people during the war with Iraq. And they've got a long and unprotectable, unsecurable border. So it was in their vital interest to be deeply involved inside Iraq.
So we have some breaking news just coming in. I'm going to pause that, but you're already hearing him, and we'll touch on that. He literally is saying, here's the countries that we're going to take out next, predicting with extreme accuracy who the United States would go to war for on behalf of Israel, go to war against, and it's those countries. And that's all going to be part of the greater Israel plan. But here's the breaking news. Iran has officially responded, this coming in from Donald Trump, to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which we expected and have very effectively countered. There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down, and 1 was set free. Because it was headed in a non-threatening direction, I am pleased to report that no Americans were harmed and hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system, and there will hopefully be no further hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible, this is all coming from Trump, to make it possible, find where I was, thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed with peace and harmony in the region. I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. That is a pretty big announcement. We kind of saw this coming. That's why I keep reiterating World War III will not be started from this directly. Iran will be involved in the start of World War III. We're already seeing World War III underway essentially right now. It's already happening. When you look back historically speaking, you'll say the start of World War III was a couple years ago, really realistically speaking. It's already in motion. It's already happening. Technically, we haven't seen the big fighting incurred, but historically speaking, looking back, this will be considered part of it. That's why I use certain verbiage when describing it, because to say that it hasn't started yet would just be insane. Obviously, we're in it now. We're just in phase 1. Phase 2 is coming. And that's why I think it's important to pay attention to the specific words in this post, that he does not believe there's going to be a further retaliation from Iran. Maybe it's over. In this specific instance, maybe we don't have to worry anymore about having to go put boots on the ground in Iran. Iran's not a stupid country. They're not full of stupid people. They got as big as they did for a reason. They're as powerful as they are for a reason. They're not going to try to risk every single thing they have in order to fight an all-out war with the most powerful military ever created. Which, by the way, once again, if our military was 1/10 of the strength it is now, it would still be the same outcome. Because 1/10 of our current strength would still massively outnumber their strength. It wouldn't even be close. So it's a little silly that I still think it's ridiculous that we're spending so much money while $36 trillion in debt on the military, because we don't need it to accomplish things like this. But whatever. At the end of the day, if Iran isn't going to do any more strikes back, then basically they're waving the white flag. They're saying, okay, fine. You don't want us to have a nuclear weapon. Okay, we won't have one. That's not a terrible thing. I don't necessarily have any strong desire for Iran to have one. I mean, what's the point of a nuclear weapon? It's to take out cities. It's to kill a bunch of people. So what's the point of having one if you're not going to use it? And if they are going to use it, what would that mean? It would mean potentially millions of people dying and nuclear fallout that goes across the globe, killing even more people, causing more people to be sick. And that's just the beginning. Then there could be a response. So I don't necessarily have any opposition to stopping nuclear programs that are developing in new countries. But then why is Israel held to a different standard? Why are they allowed to have nuclear weapons? Oh, we don't actually have them. Okay, yeah, we know you do. They have about 90 of them, probably more by now, because they're still making them. They have the enrichment facilities. They have the ability to buy them from the United States easily. We just give them to them, by the way. That's the biggest secret. The only country the United States has given nuclear weapons to is Israel in recent history, in modern history. The only one. And they keep it secret. You're not allowed to know that. Because then other countries would say, oh, that's unfair. Even our allies, well, why don't we get some nuclear weapons? Can't you give us a couple of them? So they keep it under wraps, but we know they've gotten many of their nuclear weapons from us. They also have a pretty sophisticated nuclear strategic plan to try to increase those to an even higher capacity. They have them scattered throughout the country, hidden relatively well. They have radar jamming in place to stop people from finding them. They have everything that you could possibly need to be a nuclear powerhouse. And with that, any country near them who also has nuclear weapons and they're fighting, the only outcome that could possibly happen would either be they never get used, in which case, what's the point of building them, or they get dropped in the middle of Tel Aviv. And if they get dropped in the middle of Tel Aviv, then what does Israel do in response? Well, they're going to fire their nuclear weapons back at Iran in the middle of their biggest cities, Tehran. That's what's going to happen. And it's going to be all of their cities. They'll basically just wipe out 50 million people, probably. Maybe not that many, but they'll try. They'll wipe out millions of people at a minimum. And so if we stop them from getting a nuclear weapon, that could theoretically stop millions of lives from being lost. That's the optimistic way to look at it. Then the pessimistic way to look at it is it's probably the case that Iran was never really that adamant about getting nuclear weapons. A lot of their nuclear facilities are just because they want to posture and appear to be stronger, and they want to try to deter anyone from doing anything to them, like taking land, etc. And so as a result, we're now seeing the turmoil in that region dying down a little bit. It's the opposite effect. Okay, you take out the nuclear facilities with the bunker buster bombs, which are pretty cool, by the way. So you drop them, they have precision guided flaps that can go hit a specific target. And so they don't explode when they hit the ground. That's different from the Moab. The Moab is a big bomb that's designed to basically shake tunnels in the ground until they explode and close. That's what the Moab is. It's the closest thing to a nuclear weapon that you can get without a nuclear weapon. That's not what this is. The bunker buster bombs are way more advanced technology. It's fascinating, in fact. And they go and hit the ground, and then they basically shake down and dig down until they get to the bunker, to the place where they're supposed to explode, which is already predetermined within the system. And so they go down there, and then they blow up. And by the way, the United States government is telling Iran when they're going to do this. This isn't a real war. This is a fake war. They're saying, hey, okay, just so you know, guys, we're about to go explode your facilities. So please, evacuate your people. Give us the same respect if you're going to do an attack on us. And this military, that's the only thing being hit right now is military targets. Okay, Iran, we're dropping the bomb in. Make sure all your scientists are out. Israel didn't give them the same courtesy. Israel just killed all the scientists. Israel's an asshole. The Israeli government's an asshole. They just say, all right, screw you guys. We're gonna kill you in your bedroom while you're sleeping with your family in the other room, and you're just a scientist. That's insane. That they didn't. You don't even have to do that. You legitimately didn't have to do that in order to stop their nuclear program. And it's not even that hard. A few bunker busters. It's the dumbest thing but also one of the most evil things ever. And that's why you start to realize you lose faith in humanity's ability to have peace. It's always the war, it's the problems, the insanity, and you just don't trust anyone really to have such a powerful weapon. 90 is way too many nuclear weapons for Israel to have. JFK was one of the greatest and most intelligent presidents in American history for a lot of reasons. And one of them was that he knew the threat of that. Lyndon B. Johnson then comes in after they kill JFK. The Israeli government, obviously behind the death of JFK. Everyone knows that. It's not even really a secret. It's not even really a conspiracy theory. It's just common sense to anyone who's looked into the case files and the details. And so they take out JFK, bring in Lyndon B. Johnson, who they forced on the ticket. JFK never really liked Lyndon B. Johnson. It was part of the ritual at the time. You're supposed to capitulate. And so JFK was told, okay, you have to put Lyndon B. Johnson as your ticket. He's the only guy you can choose. I know you would want someone else, but he was the runner-up, etc. And so you have to put him in. So Lyndon B. Johnson gets installed in as basically a double agent for the Israeli government. They did it on purpose. That's, by the way, part of the reason why they're able to get technology access early when it comes to AI, I would imagine, was through those connections that they formed in the 60s and even the 50s with the United States government, getting people in positions of power, being able to basically thwart influence to the degree that they can change outcomes with legislation. So they do that, and Lyndon B. Johnson comes in and basically gives them the full green light, even looks the other way when they take out one of our ships, which had information about the nuclear program and other things. That's why they did it. They knew what was going on. They had the data. They had collected information that clearly showed Israel's breaking their agreement. And so instead of using diplomacy or maybe just admitting the truth, they decided to kill a bunch of Americans on a ship, American soldiers. And they would have killed them all if they could. Some of them survived. Fortunately for those lucky individuals, most of them didn't. And they were still just allowed to get away with it. Lyndon B. Johnson didn't even do anything. He didn't even respond because he's a double agent the whole time. And so they've been able, and then that was so successful. They said, okay, let's put a bunch of double agents. Let's get them all through Congress. Let's make sure every single president, whether it's the left or the right, is going to be on our side. And if they're not, then they're not going to even be able to run for office in the first place to get to that position. They won't be able to get influence on social media because we're going to ban them. So you can't get influence, can't run advertisements. What can you do then? What are you able to achieve? What are you able to do? You can't get into a position of political power unless they basically give you the green light at this point, because now they have those levers of power. Once they have a few of them, and they're the only ones that are trying to get more of them, and the other competitors are not, because they don't have some evil plan in mind, some devious plan in mind to try to basically take over a power structure. So it's an unfair competition. One side eventually wins through that unfair competitionness. And here we are in this position. It's really not that complicated. Now we have, just minutes ago, this might be useful. Yeah, so that tweet is the one we just read. We're getting to some of the producer chatter in here is talking about the tweet that Trump just made, the Truth Social post. Now I'm gonna go check Truth Social and see if there's any more that he posted after that, any more updates, because he likes to truth together. He likes to do a bunch of truths at once. I'm gonna check that right now and see if we have any other Donald Trump tweets to go through. Donald Trump truths. Okay, there it is. Congratulations, world. It's time for peace. Okay, that's another one. So the one that we just read minutes ago was tweeted 38 minutes ago, was truth 38 minutes ago. Then there's another one after that. This one, 37 minutes ago. I would like to thank the highly respected Emir of Qatar for all that he has done in seeking peace in the region. Regarding the attack today at the American base in Qatar, I am pleased to report that in addition, no Americans being killed or wounded. Very importantly, there have also been no Qataris killed or wounded. Thank you for your attention in this matter. So those are the tweets he's made within the last hour. And the tweet before that was the sites that we hit in Iran were totally destroyed. Everyone knows it. Only the fake news would say anything other in order to try to demean as much as possible and even say they were pretty well destroyed. Working especially hard on this falsehood, and Allison Cooper Fake News CNN, Dumb Brian L. Roberts, chairman of Concast, Johnny Carl of ABC Fake News, and always the losers of, again, Comcast's NBC Fake News. It's never ending with these sleazebags in the media, and that's why their ratings are at an all-time low. Zero credibility. Now this is fun. I mean, I love it. I love Trump. How can you not love Trump? Now, he should be less of a shill for foreign governments, specifically the Israeli government. He's not a shill for Iran. Okay, good. I'm not saying he should be a shill for other Middle Eastern countries. Why don't you literally only focus on America if we need to stop a nuclear program from happening? Okay, we can do that on our own. Why does Israeli government involvement have to always be part of it? It gets annoying. It gets annoying. And I guess, I mean, you could say, so if we think this out logically, and I'm not saying this on behalf of anyone. This is theoretically what could happen. Right now, there are no countries pretty much in the Middle East that have nuclear capabilities. None of the crazy countries in the Middle East have nuclear capabilities. None of the countries that have the ability for a regime to get into power who decides to go suicide mode and take out large swaths of the world just because they feel like it, which we could probably stop some of those attacks, especially from these smaller countries. But still, none of them have that capability. And so if one does get it, if Iran gets it and they're friends with the other, the regime is, then what are they going to do next? They're going to say, okay, well, either you let our friends get nukes too, or we're going to nuke you. And okay, well, then we'll destroy you if you nuke us. Okay, well, we're just letting our friends get nukes. Okay, we're going to stop them from getting nukes. So you didn't stop us from getting nukes. How are you going to stop them from getting nukes? So at some point, eventually, yeah, you do want to stop more people from getting nukes. I get it. I'm not, as much as I hate war, as much as I hate all of this, and I hate that essentially we've been subverted by a foreign country, I still can understand. I get it. Okay, we don't want Iran to have nukes. It's not an overall positive thing. We don't need that. It doesn't help the world for them to have them. It makes it a little more of a dangerous place. Not a lot more. It would probably be fine. I don't think there would be a high probability Iran would use them in any devious or nefarious ways. If you want to look at it from a positive standpoint, from an optimistic standpoint, you could say, okay, maybe Iran uses that, stops the massive land grab, stops any genocide that is happening right across in Israel. Maybe they can do that. Maybe they can use it for some good things and put Israel in check. Maybe they could then help to stop the Israeli government from having so much influence over our country that is mostly being used in the worst ways possible. Maybe they could do that. Maybe they would even say, okay, we're actually going to topple the government in Israel. Well, they can't do that because Israel also has nukes. So I don't really see, that's being super optimistic. I don't legitimately see a path towards something positive coming from Iran having nukes. It wouldn't really change anything. All they would do is have a slightly higher risk of a crazy regime deciding to go suicide mode. That's all it would do. And a slightly higher risk of more countries getting it. And the more countries that have it, the higher the risk is of suicide mode. That's all we're looking at. So if we're going to be respectful, we're going to take out their nuclear facilities. That also sends a message to the other countries, don't try to develop them. Your scientists will lose their lives. That's a little harsh, honestly. It's not really necessary. You could have arrested them, even if you wanted to. Could have arrested them. Could have used some sort of political levers of power. But they basically took out all opposition. They took out everyone that was negotiating. They took out everyone who has the knowledge and basically reset them back to zero. So Iran can either try to hire new scientists, which who would want to do that job knowing you're probably going to be killed by the Israeli government, or they could just give up their nuclear program. And they would have given up anyway if you just dropped 3 bunker buster bombs. So look, at the end of the day, all of this has been a plan for decades. All of this is part of a massive plot that unfortunately involves our country more than any other. It is about strength versus weakness, but it is also about secrecy. And I think that's really what we need to drive home on. Now, I want to go to commercial break. Watch these commercials and get whatever is on the commercial. Buy it. It's good. It's a good commercial. Go ahead and watch these commercials.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Wow! Gabe!
Dude, Gabe, something's in the dumpster.
Whoa, what is that for?
Something's in the dumpster, man.
Well, let's use the burner. We don't want to wake the neighbors. Freeze! Stop resisting!
If you're looking for a less than lethal option for self-defense or keeping pests out of your dumpster, then check out Byrna at DCF Guns. Visit us at our 3 locations in Castle Rock or Colorado Springs, or visit us online at dcfguns.com.
Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter.
It was around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and I received an email from PayPal. It showed in this email that there was a debit in my PayPal account that was going to be taken out. I don't remember following the link in the email even. I think I went straight to the PayPal account, and that pending debit was there. And it was for about $1,000, I believe, so it was a lot of money. So I called the phone number on that email. And it kind of, the way this guy was talking, I didn't even question what he was saying. And I've worked with computers for the past 40 years. And he just kept convincing me, and he was a legitimate person that was going to fix my computer, and I had faith in him that he was doing his job. I got in the car and I drove, and I was just thinking, this isn't right. I've given this guy enough money to buy like 2 computers. So I came home and I just thought about it some more, and I called my wife had come home. I was by myself.
Know really what they look like, if it even is a person. There's a lot of theories going around about that, but clearly there is something going on, and that is why I'm getting death threats, particularly from Israeli citizens right now. One of them said, "You are Fucked." We're on YouTube, so I won't pronounce that spelling. But basically, I've gotten, if you look at my DMs right now, I have so many threats against my life for what I've been posting today. Why are they threatening my life if it is just some crazy thing? Why are they so protective of this? Why are these accounts, some of them may be bots or controlled by the same groups that are perpetrating this, trying to scare, intimidate, and stop people from speaking the truth? Why does this happen? Why does anyone who comes close to it feel scared for their life, have to worry about their family? I have 2 little kids. I have 2 young baby girls. I want to be able to expose the truth without having to worry about them. And yet here in the position that I am in, here in our current state of affairs in global geopolitics, we do have to worry about that. And that's why I need everyone to be loud about this. I need all of us to come together and support the truth. I'm about to tweet out this link. If you're watching right now, please go to Twitter and repost this link. Here it says live now, covering this on Rumble. Join quickly before they block link, which by the way, they love to block links across social media. X is less likely, but if you post on Facebook especially, they often will block those links. They block it on Instagram. They block it basically on any mainstream platform where you can post. They're going to try to block content like this, whether they remove it or block the link or whatever it is, or just ban your account. That happens a lot too. I've had many of my accounts banned already. Imagine how big and powerful we'd be already if, and we already are. We have one of the biggest accounts in the world on X. But just imagine what we can do if we weren't being stopped at every turn, if they weren't suppressing our voices. So I'm going to tweet this out. Please go and repost it if you're watching now. I just did it. I'm going to retweet it so you can see it easily. I posted it underneath one of the other tweets. So there we are. So I just posted it. So if you're tuned in from Rumble directly, you can also go and see the video posted there on X as well. A lot of this stuff is going viral right now because people are pissed off and people are starting to wake up. That's what's so important about X, is because we now have at least some free speech on there. It's not full free speech yet. They're still throttling Joe Olman's account. They're still taking away followers from him, banning followers, essentially making it almost impossible for him to grow his account, which is really sad. I hope they stop doing that. I like Elon, I like X, but there's clearly people within X that are still trying to use the powers of old to hurt the influencers of new. That's what's happening. So be aware, be cognizant, but at the same time, we have to show a high level of respect that we're even able to come to these conclusions in the first place as a public. All of us that are on X, that are seeing these posts, that are seeing the truth, are starting to understand what is really happening. The boomers, they're watching Fox News and CNN, MSNBC, all the other gay ones. And if you're a boomer watching this right now, I applaud you for that. We have a lot of boomers watching. Unfortunately, and by the way, I mean to boomers, but my generation sucks too. So don't think I'm just picking on you guys. My generation, and most generations, there's only a couple good generations. There's a couple. Gen Z actually we may make. I'm part of Gen Z. We may make a comeback. There's a lot of crazy Gen Zers. The millennials may be the worst. I don't know. Is that true? I mean, if you are a millennial, you'd agree with that. You'd have to agree with that if you have common sense. It's one of the worst ones. You guys have a lot of bad people in your generation. Gen Z has some of the most crazy, but also we have some of the most based. So we'll see. Maybe just maybe Gen Z will be good. The boomers, I mean, very few of you guys are able to see past the walls of the media because you've been brainwashed your entire lives. And if you are, you really are well above your peers. You really are on a different plane entirely. You're not supposed to be able to be like that. That's not supposed to happen. So I'm going to post a link a couple more places right now. But and then the greatest generation is the only real good one. Anyone born before the boomers, we got a couple good ones back there. You guys are great. No complaints, no problems. Before we got invaded by other countries, making up large populations of the new generations in our country. The good old days. If only it was still like that. Just imagine if instead of now having a bunch of gay retards in our country, we had more people like the greatest generation. Then we wouldn't have to worry so much about these links getting blocked. And we wouldn't have to worry so much about these subversion projects that essentially take over governments, because Benjamin Netanyahu right now has a 4-step plan. Step 1 was already activated. And that was what happened on October 7th. That was a planned, purposeful thing. They knew the attack was coming. Technically, it wasn't fully orchestrated, but they basically prompted it. They encouraged it. They put people in the ranks in Hamas that made sure that was going to happen. And so Hamas did it. They did the dirty work. They carried it out. And instead of stopping them, they let it go on for 7 hours. And even if you look at some of the footage, And you look at some of the first-hand accounts, we know the helicopters were taking out Israeli citizens, in large part who were at the festival. That's what happened. You can't deny it for much longer. Much longer. I mean, you can't deny it for a long time. You have to look at the facts, and you start to see the picture unfolding. So then that's step one. Step two was what we saw with Gaza, where basically they've obliterated it. They've made it basically inhabitable. And that includes the encouragement for countries in the Middle East to take in refugees. Probably Iran will be forced to take in some of them now that they've lost and been forced to capitulate when it comes to their nuclear program. They're going to be forced to take in some of them. There's no really power in the Middle East that's able to stop Israel at this point. It's over. So Israel can do whatever they want. Okay, you guys got to take Gazan immigrants. You guys got to take Gazan immigrants, flip them all around. Just like they said, we have to take Mexican immigrants and African immigrants, especially in Europe, but also here, and Muslim immigrants in Europe too. They've done a lot of that work. Now they're doing it again. Once again, the Israeli government trying to push people. So they're going to do that. They're going to send a bunch of the Gazans over to other countries in the Middle East. The next plan, we talked about the Trump hotel in Gaza. Yeah. I mean, sure, that'll probably happen, but it's not just about that. They're going to take over all of that land, which is nice, pretty land, by the way. They want more beachfront, and they're going to use that because their population is expanding way too quickly for the amount of land they have to be able to comfortably hold them in nice areas. Okay, if you want to go in the desert, sure, but people want to be on the beach. People want to be in forest and pretty places that are capable of producing food, farmable land. And so that's the next stage, is they're going to basically take over Gaza. They're already doing it, but they're going to start increasing their land. They've already increased their land many times in the past. They'll do it again, this time with Gaza. And then step 4 is already basically in action now, and that is subverting even more places around Israel. If we can put up a map of Greater Israel at some point. But basically, it just goes around the region, gives them full control over the strait, gives them full strategic importance. Then they have leverage over the United States, especially with their nuclear weapons. And they can tell the United States, okay, keep giving us money, or we're going to start charging you to go through the strait, or start charging you to use these waters. So we're destroying our own ability to have economic viability in the region and to be able to prosper from that, while at the same time propping up this Greater Israel idea. And it's all being done by a group of elites that are in the shadows, that are wearing these skin masks, obviously. And you can, again, oh, well, it's a conspiracy, that's stupid. Watch the videos. Watch how he moves. Watch the glitches. You can see clearly, if you pay attention, especially from the clips from more than 10 years ago, it's not even that crazy to say. You can see it. What other world leaders from I mean, there's more of them now that you can see it with, but what other world leaders from 10 years ago have a bunch of clips of them where you can clearly see the line on the neck? There aren't any. And they think, oh, they're too stupid. We have control over social media. They'll never even be able to talk about it. We'll just ban them if they do. Anyone who tries to bring this up or talk about it or expose the truth, they've been banned. So now, because we have Rumble and X, for the first time in over a decade, we could actually expose it. They didn't think that would ever happen. They thought, oh, we don't even have to be. You'd think, okay, well, then if we can see the line on the neck, then they're going to be exposed. So that's a stupid plan, Matt. How's that possible? Well, who's going to expose it? Who's going to seriously expose it? They would need more than a small percent of the population to know, and the only way for more than a small percent of the population to know that would make any amount of difference would be through the media and social media. That's about it. That's the only way of spreading information to a lot of people quickly. And who controls the media? Who owns Fox News? Israeli government ties. Literally is a member of the Israeli government, essentially. He's a double citizen. CNN, MSNBC. What about Mark Zuckerberg? Same thing. One of the Bergs. And you start to look down the list, and a lot of them formerly Jewish atheists, by the way. That's the other tie-in that we have to consider here. But you start to look down the line over and over and over and over and over again, you see the same pattern emerging. And that's why they thought they were going to be able to get away with it. That's why they thought, okay, the makeup's not perfect today. It's high humidity level. Well, who cares? Okay, people can see it. They're not going to be able to prove it. They're not going to know for sure. They're not going to be able to, even if they could prove it, they can't spread the information. We control the media. We control social media. They spread the information. We're going to ban them. We're going to throttle them. You're never going to see it. You're never going to be able to know in the first place. And here we are, watching the world unfold into chaos. And finally, we can at least speak the truth while it's happening. Maybe, just maybe, there's hope. Maybe Generation Z isn't totally toast yet. Maybe they're not just doomed to be millennials 2.0. Maybe from the ashes, something more beautiful will rise. We have to hope. We have to hope. I posted the link again. So everyone who just tuned in, thank you for tuning in. A big show today as we are seeing turmoil unfolding in the Middle East. Trump calling for peace. And I can't overstate the fact that, yes, I'm happy that there's less nuclear weapon ability in the Middle East. I think Trump is handling it about as well as he could when it comes to the diplomacy of it, trying to stop it from going into a further conflict. He told them when he was doing the strikes, they told him, and they told us when they were doing the strikes. So right now it's at a relatively high level of diplomacy. No one's going crazy or trying to bomb big cities in the United States or even in Israel or even in Iran right now. That's right now it's the waters are a little bit calmer. So we'll give Trump credit for that. But at the same time, it's still stupid that we're basically acting as a stooge for another country. So both those things can be true at once. He gets some credit, but we also don't need to be fighting wars on behalf of the Israeli government all the time. And we also don't need to be funding that much money and funneling it into those military powers. The only thing we can do that I support is occasionally stopping nuclear programs if they're trying to go forward. And we don't even need to kill the scientists. That was a step too far. All we have to do, you can, if you want to arrest them, okay, whatever. But you hurt the facilities, take out the facilities, and it's done. You say, okay, if you guys keep going, then we'll take out scientists. Like you could say that. Again, I don't care that much because it probably wouldn't matter. But if you're trying to be extra safe, which okay, fine, we'll do that. We already spent the money on the military. Might as well use it. Might as well. That's the dumbest thing I've ever said, but it's kind of true. So that's essentially the position that we're in right now. And Joe's still supposed to be joining soon. He's going to be calling in by Zoom, so we're waiting on Joe to come in. But here's Trump responding after the bombing. This is C2. I'm going to go ahead and play C2 for you, and you can see Trump's demeanor. Pay attention to his demeanor. Pay attention to the words that he says in this clip.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and
look at little Rubio back
Esfahan.
there.
Everybody
I hate Rubio.
heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our
Tony
objective
O'Neill, huh?
was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well said. We got to give Trump credit. He always knows what to say. Now, I love Trump. I don't like Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, look at little Marco Rubio in the back there with his tiny hands, according to Trump. Remember that. Tiny hand Marco Rubio, warmonger, neocon, who wants this to be World War III, who wants to see a massive conflict, who wants Iran to be probably nuclear bombed right now. I don't like to see him there. But I would rank it Trump number 1, Hegseth number 2, then Vance. Then all the way to the bottom, little Marco Rubio. That's how those 4 right there. They're trying to project strength. I don't think Marco Rubio is giving off any amount of strength and projection to anyone. Why is Marco Rubio even in the administration? Because he was basically paid off to be in there. He shouldn't have been. There could have been there were so many better options than that. At least they didn't try to put Huckabee in the back there. That would have been even worse. At least they only had one extreme warmonger. The other 2, yeah, we kind of liked them. They're not so bad. Not so bad. Occasionally say dumb, stupid things, still kind of subverted, but and JD Vance obviously his ties to Thiel and to Plantier are not tasteful. That's why I'm not nicer to JD Vance. But he's still a good guy. You know, I don't hate JD Vance. I don't think he should be the nominee. I think we can get someone better. But if he was, wouldn't be the end of the world. There could be worse people, because they're basically going to subvert. I've used the word subvert a lot this show, haven't I? I like the word subvert. It's a good word. Subverted the show with the word subvert. Very subversive. JD Vance, if he doesn't go into office and install Palantir into all of these government systems, create a control state, someone else is going to do it. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. Maybe it'll be slightly better if he does it than if someone else does it. Can we stop it? That's the goal. That's the entire point of the show. That's the entire point of the movement, because we want to stop that. We want to stop them. But I don't think electing someone different, unless we can really truly have a hero that gets elected, someone who's willing to stand up and put their life on the line in order to save the country, unless we have that person. And Trump has that ability. He's not right now doing it. Yeah, he has that personality. He has that fire. I want to see him take that step in the next direction. He's smarter than the most of us are, right? But it's still, and by the way, I appreciate all the nice comments. There's a lot of people who have said very, very, very nice things. I appreciate all of the love in the comment section, a lot of good stuff. And there's also some interesting comments as well. Mankind cannot stop evil. That's a God-sized problem. That is true. Only through God are we even capable of fighting it. No one can really stop it besides God. That is a fact. And JD Vance looks like a young Ulysses S. Grant. Oh, that's true. He does look like a young Ulysses S. Grant. That's a good comparison. Unfortunately, death is necessary. Evil cannot be allowed to exist as much as it is, if we can help it. If our president, the wars would not have started, said Mod Trend. And we're looking at not another response from Iran. And the ball is in Iran's court right now. If they want there to be a war, there's going to be a war. But why would Iran want that? Okay, you took out our nukes, you got us. All right. Now, why don't you give us money And that's basically, why don't you let us trade with you? Why don't you buy our oil? It's not really in their best interest to try to fight a large scale war. It was actually kind of dumb for them to even try to develop a nuclear weapon in the first place. What's the point? What are you going to use it for? If you fire it, your entire country gets destroyed within an hour. So what's the point of even having it? Why would you even want one? Why even try to develop it? It's just stupid. And the fact that they're that stupid does make me slightly happy that they don't have one now. That's the silver lining. That's the bright stuff. Appreciate the show, Matt. Been tuning in for a long time. This is one of my favorite episodes. Sorry, but this is oh yeah, that's true. Obama, someone said Obama had more Jews in his inner circle than we would ever know, said T Nuke. Then Obama's part of the Muslim Brotherhood, says Morgan. Interesting. If you read the Bible, you will see that this was all prophesized. Yeah, in the Bible, it does say that we're going to see the second coming of Christ at the point when it falls. And are we about to see it fall? I don't know. Is the temple going to be destroyed? Is it going to fall? That's something that's fascinating to look at. Now, there's different interpretations, and it is true that a lot of people have tried to use the Bible to trick people, basically rewriting it in a different way, interpreting it incorrectly on purpose to make certain things sound true when they're in reality false. Like, for example, how a lot of people have interpreted the Bible to mean that Jewish people of the modern day are God's chosen people, which doesn't even logically make any sense. I'll state this as many times as I have to, as loudly as I possibly can. If you have less than 1% genetic resemblance to that group of people from that time, which is the case with most Jewish people, some of them have more. But if anything less than 50%, how could you even claim to be one of the chosen people based on that lineage? And then you go further into the fact that that was a misinterpretation anyway. And in reality, God says, the only way is through, Jesus says, the only way is through me. Therefore, if you are a Christian, you are one of God's chosen people. It's as plain as day as it can possibly be. There's nothing secretive or weird about that. It's common sense. That's the truth. That's how it is. And so we have to look at it that way. We have to look at it and be honest about it. Now, everyone is just tuning in. If you're watching for the first time, I highly encourage you to subscribe to this channel with the notifications on. We are growing very quickly. Fastest growing show on Rumble right now. One of the fastest growing shows, if not the fastest in the world. A lot of new people coming in every single day. And I mean, percentage-wise, there are shows that get more per day. But we're growing fast basically from the ground up. We are building something that is more than just a show. We are building a movement. We are building the ability to hold politicians accountable. The website we are working on, you're going to love it. About to be released soon. So that's very exciting. And that's just the beginning of what we're doing. So many cool things happening. That's the top of the list, probably, is the website that we're working on, which is basically a lobbying effort. I'll explain more about that later. I think that'll have a big impact. And there's another Truth Social post. Yeah, Trump's going off today. He's continuing the post. It is the ultimate. It's the ultimate entertainment. Now we also have a statement. I want to go ahead and go to C8. Now this is a statement from JD Vance. Go ahead and play C8. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pull up C8. Basically, JD Vance is now, and I thought this was funny, by the way, when JD Vance decided to say that he didn't even know that Trump was going to strike Iran. Of course he knew. Oh, I didn't know. We didn't even communicate about that. But he said it in a clever way to not really throw Trump under the bus, but basically he's trying to throw Trump under the bus. That's what he was doing. He was trying to throw Trump under the bus so that he can be in a position to still be the anti-war candidate in 2028. It's obvious what he's doing. He's loyal, but only to the degree that he's still able to run for office. That's all he really cares. JD Vance wants to be president. That's all he really cares about. And so he's acting, and I'm not saying that in a hateful way. I mean, go for it, right? That's what he should be doing if he wants to be president. That's probably a smart move. But I'm just pointing it out. It's what's happening. That's why that explains his behavior. Now, we have C8 ready. Let's go ahead and play C8.
What we've said to the Iranians is we do not want war with Iran. We actually want peace. But we want peace in the context of them not having a nuclear weapons program. And that's exactly what the president accomplished last night. I really think there are two big questions for the Iranians here. Are they going to attack American troops, or are they going to continue with their nuclear weapons program? And if they leave American troops out of it and they decide to give up their nuclear weapons program once and for all, then I think the president has been very clear. We can have a good relationship with the Iranians. We can have a peaceful situation in that region of the world. We have to step back a little bit, Kristen, and remind ourselves that we negotiated aggressively with the Iranians to try to find a peaceful settlement to this conflict. It was only when the president decided that the Iranians were not negotiating in good faith that he took this action. He didn't take it lightly, but I actually think it provides an opportunity to reset this relationship, reset these negotiations, and get us in a place where Iran can decide not to be a threat to its neighbors, not to be a threat to the United States. And if they're willing to do that, the United States is all ears.
He said American troops, as long as they don't harm American troops. So, JD, are you saying it's okay for them to harm Israeli troops? I mean, that's what he said. Why else would you make that distinguishment? Why else would you say American? Because what he's implying is American first, but he doesn't really mean that. That's kind of a lie a little bit. It's to sound good. It does sound good. That is a good way to put it. But what he really means is if you don't harm Israeli or American troops, basically. Because if they decide to go and attack Israel full scale, which they have the capability to do, Israel's telling them right now, we're going to nuke you if you do that. So they're probably not going to. But if they did, the U.S. would likely get involved. Again, Trump made the call once without the approval of Congress, technically against the rules, whatever, right? But they'll do it again. He's the commander-in-chief. Okay, he probably can do it. You're supposed to declare an act of war, except for in extenuating circumstances. Was this an extenuating circumstance? Probably not. So he may have bent the rules a little bit, but you're allowed to bend the rules as long as you're on the side of the Israeli government who has access to all the levers of power when it comes to. That's why Trump has to do it. That's why he has to capitulate to them, because they can turn off the lever anytime they want. If you have the control over the artificial intelligence machine and you have most of the largest companies in the country with people who are on your side within them, then of course you're going to have to listen and do what they say. So that's fascinating. Now we also have C10, which I'm going to play for you right now. C10, Marco Rubio. Some people thought he did a good job at this. Then Marco Rubio was able to successfully win this debate. Go ahead and play the clip and tell me what you think.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I think that question being asked in the media, that's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is the key point in U.S. intelligence assessments. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's not.
The political decision had not been made.
I know that better than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bury things in a mountain, 300 feet under the ground?
Right.
Why would you bury why do they have 60% enriched uranium? You don't need 60% enriched uranium. The only countries in the world that have uranium at 60% are countries that have nuclear weapons. Because they can quickly make it 90. They have all the elements. They have. Why do they have a space program? Is Iran going to go to the moon? No. They're trying to build an ICBM.
No, but that's a question. That's a question of intent. And you know, in the intelligence assessment, that it was that Iran wanted to be a threshold state and use this leverage. I'm talking about the public March assessment, and that's why I was asking you if you know something more from March.
But that's also an inaccurate representation of it. That's an accurate representation of it. That's not how intelligence is read. That's not how intelligence is used. Here's what the whole world knows. Forget about intelligence. What the IAEA knows. They are enriching uranium well beyond anything you need for a civil nuclear program. So why would you enrich uranium at 60%?
Right.
If you don't intend to one day use it to take it to 90 and build a weapon. Right. Why are you developing ICBMs? Why do you have 8,000 short-range missiles and 2,000 to 3,000 long mid-range missiles that you continue to develop? Why do you do all these things? They have everything they need for a nuclear weapon. They have the delivery mechanisms, they have the enrichment capability, they have the highly enriched uranium that is stored.
Yes.
That's all we need to see.
Right. Well, and
especially in the hands of a regime that's already involved in terrorism and proxies and all kinds of things around. They are the source of all
yes, and no one's disputing that. I'm not doing that here. And they were censured at the IAEA for that enrichment and for violating their non-proliferation agreements. I was simply asking if we had intelligence that there was an order to weaponize, because you said weaponization ambitions.
Well, we have intelligence that they have everything they need to build a nuclear weapon, and that's more than enough.
Okay.
More than enough. Okay, I mean, whatever. You know, okay, you destroyed the nuclear facilities. At the end of the day, Marco Rubio, I feel like he did win that debate. He won the argument there. But at the same time, it is true. Margaret is right. They didn't have proof they were going to try to develop nuclear weapons. Maybe they weren't. It's possible they weren't even trying to. And they were just doing this to try to posture and scare and have some sort of slight advantage, even if it's just in jest against Israel in their current battle right now. Over basically ideology. Over the ideology that is followed by Muslims versus the ideology that is followed in Israel. Israel is largely a Jewish country, so those two ideologies have long conflicted. That's obviously where this goes, and you can kind of see clearly the difference between the non-action side that is being argued by Margaret and the action side by Rubio. Okay, why are they enriching the uranium? Well, we don't even actually really have proof that they're going to use it for nuclear weapons, but they could. So then we don't want them to become the next North Korea, I guess. Is that the idea? Okay, fine. Fair enough. And then we also have a cut from Pete Hegseth that I think is interesting. This is C11. And he, I think, is I respect him. I think he is someone who is worthy of being listened to more often than not. Listen to this and tell me if you think he is right.
As President Trump has stated, the United States does not seek war. But let me be clear. We will act swiftly and decisively when our people, our partners, or our interests are threatened. Iran should listen to the President of the United States and know that he means it, every word. I want to give congratulations to our Commander-in-Chief. It was an honor to watch him lead last night and throughout, and to our great American warriors on this successful operation. God bless our troops. God bless America. And we give glory to God for his providence and continue to ask for his protection.
You see the difference in the aura? Marco Rubio would never put a gun on his shoulders and go fight in a war. Pete Hegseth has done that before. So that's the difference between the two of them. You can tell. And I know I haven't done that either. I would prefer not to have to ever do that. But if I needed to, I would. The only thing Hegseth will do it for the United States government and for a paycheck. You get paid to be in the military. I'm not saying that's the only reason he did it, but that's the motivation there. Protecting the country and a paycheck. I wouldn't do it for either of those things. I'm going to be honest. I don't love the United States. I do love the United States of America, but as it currently sits with the leadership and the positions that people have with the $36 trillion in debt, with us being a puppet state of other countries, at this point, and with the amount of evil that's running rampant here, I don't have a yearning desire to fight to protect that. I just don't. The only thing I would go to war for is my family. That is it. My family and people who I love. I would go to war to protect them. I would risk my life to protect them. If the United States, if we decide we're going to become an incredible, amazing country again, like we used to be, then maybe that's worth dying for again. But right now, that's just the way I see it. Still, the aura difference is massive there. It's massive. Now, we also have a clip in C12 from Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, who I criticized a couple episodes ago, but I think did a relatively good job. I mean, she is very talented. I've been very impressed with her orating when it comes to her position as press secretary. Go ahead and play C12.
The president is pleased, the country is pleased, and frankly, Brian, the whole world should be pleased with the courageous action that President Trump and our United States military took on Saturday night. I want to thank, and the president wants to thank, the brave pilots who flew nearly 40 hours and more than 7,000 miles from the middle of America to the Middle East to conduct this highly successful and complex precision strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. This is an operation that presidents of the past have dreamed about, but no president had the guts to actually do it. But President Trump did, to take away this imminent threat, not just to the state of Israel, but to the United States and the rest of the world. So the country is a safer place today because of the president's bold action, and he has prevented a nuclear conflict. He has prevented a rogue radical regime from obtaining a nuclear bomb and threatening our people.
Okay, fair enough. Good job. Now, that is in contrast, you'd think, right, to Fetterman. Well, actually not. John Fetterman decided, and we're about to play the clip C13 of John here, he decided he was in favor of this, coming out in support of the Trump administration. He's been known to be unpredictable in what he's going to say and his opinions he's going to put forward. Go ahead and play C13.
There's going to be a lot of people in my party that are going to disagree with the strike in Iran, and I actually support that. I've been always calling for that thing. I think it was entirely appropriate. And again, there might be votes on that. So for me, that's not a war. That was a very limited military exercise, and it struck that, and then that's where we're at. So really, it really wasn't about unconstitutional or it's anything like that. It was like a very, very limited military engagement, and then it took them out, damaged them severely.
Okay, John. You know, I'm not surprised by that at all. People were saying, oh my gosh, John Fetterman supporting Trump. Are you really surprised? How do you think someone who was mentally incapacitated was able to win a Senate race? With no experience, didn't even show up dressed appropriately to almost all of his events. Overweight, sloppy. He was somehow able to become a senator. It's almost like he was installed into office with a system of voting that has been set up in order to make sure people like that are capable of winning, who are going to support the things they're told to support. And what if he's told to support this? You know, it's not surprising to me. Maybe surprising to some people, but it's not at all surprising to me. Now, that's not all. We also have Iran attacking Qatar U.S. military bases, which I think is kind of fascinating because that's not something that people were necessarily expecting. That is a surprising step. That's within their range, within what they're capable of targeting. I'm going to go ahead and play D1, and you can kind of get an idea of what Iran's doing. This is part of the, quote, weak response that Trump claimed. 13 missile shot, one able to hit a non-important target, I guess. That's how it worked. But then Trump is also leaving this out. So go ahead and play D1. Okay, there's the footage. Doesn't seem to be anything serious. And by the way, we now know no casualties too. So we have this clip from Fox News. Go ahead and play D2. No casualties reported in any of this, really, which is remarkable. That's surprising. We did have casualties at the beginning, the scientists, as well as some people who were just in buildings in both Israel and Iran. But this today did not result in any casualties. Go ahead and play D2.
Also saying no casualties in the attack on the U.S. military base either. So it would seem that maybe, and we hope fortunately, none of the missiles actually hit the ground.
Then we also have this. So here's something that I think is a little bit strange. Go ahead and play D3. Something strange going on.
interests in the region, and there are no reports indicating that that has taken place. And so Iran still has the ability to ratchet up the pressure against American interest in the Middle East, but it appears here they are trying to coordinate some possible response as to not drag the United States more directly into the fight. There's an understanding that the Americans have a capacity and they have weapons that the Israelis do not have, and a willingness, if American forces or interests in the region come under attack, to get more directly involved in the fight. And the regime in Tehran has been extremely weakened following the 11-day campaign that the Israelis have launched not only against their nuclear facilities, but also against top IRGC officials. Remember, in that opening wave, the Israelis took out nearly the entire chain of command for the IRGC Air Force commanders in the Iranian capital of Tehran. We've spoken with top Israeli intelligence officials who have described to Fox News how they are systematically hunting down Iranian officials. And this gives you a sense of how their military chain of command has been decimated.
You guys hear me? There we go. Okay, it's back on now. Now that's and then we have this response, by the way, from Mahad al-Ansari following the Qatar attacks. This is the advisor to the Prime Minister and official spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Qatar. He put out a statement on the attacks. It's interesting because Qatar, right there in the region, playing a role in this. Qatar is a way more friendly to the United States and even to Israel version of Iran, basically, if we want to put it plainly. Go ahead and put up D4. This is the tweet that he made. You can see right there. So I'm going to go pull it up on my phone because it is a long tweet. And I'm going to go ahead and read part of this. We probably don't need to read it all, but the state of Qatar strongly condemns the attack that targeted Al-Adaid Air Base and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. We consider this a flagrant violation of sovereignty of the state of Qatar, its airspace, international law, and the United States nation's charter. We affirm that Qatar reserves the right to respond directly in a manner equivalent with the nature and scale of this brazen aggression, in line with international law. We reassure that Qatar's air defenses successfully thwarted the attack and intercepted the Iranian missiles. A detailed statement regarding the circumstances of the attack will be issued later by the Ministry of Defense. We also emphasized that the continuation of such escalatory military actions will undermine security and stability in the region, dragging it into situations that could have catastrophic consequences for international peace and security. We call for the immediate cessation of all military actions for a serious return to the negotiating table and dialogue. Now, it's basically the rest of it, basically just repeating the same things again, but that's interesting. You see the IQ difference. Qatar, a smarter country than Iran, obviously. Even if you want to be on Iran's side in this, they're still stupid. They're not going to be able to successfully develop nuclear weapons. Even if the United States didn't jump in and stop them, the Israeli government would have done it. And they wouldn't have been able to do anything about it, for the most part. So they're basically, it's like a massive, I almost said WWE. It's like a massive martial artist that's fighting against someone who is, a formidable opponent, but who's untrained. Maybe still, someone who's still strong, but they don't have the knockout punch. And they're fighting against a trained martial artist. Someone who's an MMA fighter, whatever it is. That's like the comparison here. There was never really a chance to begin with, and that's just the United States not in the picture. That's just Israeli government, Israeli military versus Iranian military. That alone is already that matchup because of the nuclear weapons capabilities and the technological advancement that Israel's been able to put forward, even ahead of the United States at times. And then you put the United States involved in the picture even a little bit, and that's now 100 MMA fighters versus one formidable opponent that's not even trained. That's the perfect way to put it. That's literally exactly what's happening. By the way, we have a clip from Donald Trump that I think is important to play. Now this is Trump in Fort Dodge. This is D8. Iran, the picture, and what we're dealing with the military action, it's all correlated. Go ahead and play D8.
I told the story last week or 2 weeks ago for the first time when we... Thank you. Thank you. Doesn't sound like my kind of a lover, but that's okay. Thank you. He's all man, that guy. I gotta tell you, you gotta see this guy. Anyway, but thank you very much. Something happened that was very interesting because one of our drones was shot down and we countered with that, and they had a counter. This is Iran, and they countered. I said, if you counter, you're going to be in deep trouble. If you counter, you better not counter. And they called us and they said, listen, we're going to aim at a fort, a military base, but we're not going to hit it. These are very accurate missiles. They have actually very accurate missiles. They have very good stuff, unfortunately. But we're going to send up 18 missiles and we're not going to hit. So of the 18 missiles, 6 of them self-destructed in air. And the rest of them landed outside of the military base and areas where there were no people, so nobody was killed. They had some explosions. But when they call us to tell us, listen, don't be upset, don't be angry, we sort of have to do it because we have to do it. They have self-respect also. We hit them, they have to do something. But we're going to hit, but we're not going to hurt anybody. Please understand that. And I said, that's a sign of respect. Do you think they do that now? We had 59 attacks over the last 3 or 4 weeks. They don't say we're not going to hurt anybody. They're trying badly to hurt people. But with me, they said, we're not going to hurt anybody. We're not going to do anything that's bad. Please understand. Don't get angry at us, please.
Please don't get angry at us. Don't fire your nukes at us. Please, please. It is fun. It is fun being the United States. Imagine being Iran. That would suck. You're basically our bitch. I mean, I'm sorry to put that so crudely, but it's true. You are. If we can basically do whatever we want, and you have to just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, didn't want to hurt you." It's I mean, maybe this is selfish, but it's kind of fun. I kind of seek, as much as I hate war, I kind of secretly enjoy this. There's something fun about being so big and bad that no one wants to mess with us. China, by the way, though, probably could. I don't want to go to war with China. Have you seen their technology? Have you seen what China can do? The sheer amount of people they have, combined with their technological ability and their capacity to develop things, to mass produce things. Yeah, maybe China's bigger and badder than us at this point. They probably are. But everyone else we can take for the most part. Russia with all their nukes, it's pretty tough too. Whatever. You still get the point. It's still kind of funny. It's still kind of fun. And as we look at this unfolding, it's important to keep in mind that we're only on Earth temporarily before we go to heaven. None of this should distract us too much from Christ, from where we really need to be at our root, which is following God on a path to heaven. Even if the whole world ends, it only matters for a second, and then we'll be in heaven after that. That's what was promised to us. That's why God sent Jesus to earth. So I don't want to get too far away from that, no matter how much we talk about this. Now, we also do have a clip. I wonder why Iran's missiles missed. Go ahead and play D9. This is something that you will probably find relatively entertaining if we can go ahead and put up D9.
You remember when I did something to Iran and they shot missiles? Well, those are typically very accurate missiles, but did you notice every single one of them missed, right? I wonder why they missed. I wonder why they missed. They went at a certain base that we had, a lot of people in that base, but they all landed a little outside the base. I wonder why. Someday you're going to think about that. Then you're going to think about, did we know they weren't going to hit the base too? But they didn't hit us. They needed some kind of reply, I guess, but they didn't hit us.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and do the prayer now. Pretty good show today. A lot of information. It is one of the best shows on the internet for a reason, because we have an incredible team that puts together the rundowns with production, making everything seamless, making it work well. So I want you to come and subscribe. I want you to be part of it. Join our community. And once the website is up, there will be an opportunity to join at an even higher level that everyone needs to be taken advantage of, because as we grow in the ability to influence each other, we're also going to have the ability to influence on the outside, especially with the Trump administration. You'll see what I mean very soon here. Dear Lord, the world seems scary and chaotic most days, more days than not. Seems like we're on a path that is closer to the side of evil than it is to the side of good. That every day we go further away from you rather than closer. Help us to see what we're doing, to understand as humans what is right and what is wrong, and to be able to make those decisions with your guidance, to use our free will in a way that honors you and respects you and brings us closer to you. Always remembering that at the end of the day, Earth is only temporary. Put that in everyone's minds. Allow us to be able to have that at the forefront of the decisions that we make so that we are not as stressed, there aren't as many problems, and we are able to have a collective unity in Christ. Amen. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you know where to find us. You can watch there. We by the way, are at 40,000 views per show on BEK Network, which is huge. So shout out to BEK. That's one place you can watch. It's an hour format there, but it's a great place. A lot of people watching there. If you're watching there right now, thank you for doing that. And I'm very, very, very happy that you are joining us consistently. Please continue to do that. Unfortunately, Joe wasn't able to make it. You know, he was supposed to come on today. I'm sure he had a couple of things, was busy. He will be on tomorrow, I believe. So we'll look forward to that. Oh, did he just join? Okay. Right as we're ending the show. Are you? Can you hear me, Joe? I guess we're gonna let him join in. There he is. Joe, I just did the prayer. We were about to end the show. How's it going? Can you hear us? I can't hear him. Okay, I think it's all good. We can go ahead and end the show. Thank you everyone for watching. I think we'll have to. Why don't we get this figured out? Because we have some new production stuff going on. So we'll get this figured out for next time Joe jumps in. Still a great show. I'm very excited for Joe to be back in studio, I believe, tomorrow. That would be awesome. And it's been a while since I've seen him, since I was gone last week. So I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing Joe and having him on the show tomorrow. But until then, hope everyone has an incredible rest of your night. Enjoy our wonderful last few days before World War III goes into phase 2. Have a good time, and I'll see you in the next one.